2022 has been an absolute banger for movies. We got some total gems this year. I mean, top tier, instant classics, and some, well, not so much. This is my top 10 list of the best movies of 2022. Let's get into this, let's go. Kicking things off with one of the most epic movies I've seen since 1917 and Saving Private Ryan, All Quiet on the Western Front tells the story of an idealistic young German soldier set in the closing days of World War I. Based on the novel of the same name by Erich Maria Remarque, the film deals with the horrors and ultimate pointlessness of war, the parallel plot of the armistice between Germany and France, the vanity of those who see war as glorious, and particularly as it relates to the fate of the soldiers dying on the field, is narratively powerful. And if you enjoy thought-provoking films with big set pieces, check out this great film from Edward Berger. Next, The Northman from writer-director Robert Eggers and stars Alexander Skarsgård and Anya Taylor-Joy. The film stood out to me as one of the best Viking movies so far. The blend of Norse mysticism, brutality, and Eggers' singular style is truly epic and just a match made in heaven. I do love me some Norse mythology, and the mainstream take on it just doesn't capture the primeval nature. This movie makes a pretty close shot of it though. There's a sort of primal intensity at its core, and this grim world fits nicely in an admittedly straightforward story of revenge. But if you're looking for a romanticized open-field grand battle between two opposing armies, you'd be disappointed here. This story is very concise and deeply personal and deserves a top 10 on anyone's list for 2022. Moving on to Martin McDonagh's The Banshees of Inishirin, which is a highly unusual tale, personal, hilarious, and beautiful in all the best ways. The cinematography is gorgeous, filmed on location in a remote part of Ireland. It almost feels like an alien world in comparison to our reality. But the premise is so simple it borders on the obscene. The story revolves around two lifelong friends when all of a sudden, unexpectedly, Colm, played by Brendan Gleeson, cuts ties with Peric, played by Colin Farrell. This thing escalates, and we're taken through the journey of this peculiar friendship. Excellent performances too from the cast, Kerry Condon and Barry Keoghan. It's not really for everyone, this movie. For me, I've been a fan of McDonagh's previous work in Bruges, and I'm really happy to watch this excellent film. It's beautifully written and masterfully executed. Definitely one of my top films for 2022. Next up is, in my opinion, the best horror film of 2022. X. Set in the 70s, X dives deep into the horror slasher film of the past and actually emerges as a thing of its own. We follow a group of young filmmakers who are determined to make an impact, and cinema takes them to a secluded farmhouse where things turn out for the worst. Ty West doesn't pull any punches with his vision. It's gory, smart, but in a grotesque kind of way. Mia Goth is a force to be reckoned with, playing dual roles and nailing down the idyllic ignorance of youth, then the pitfalls of failed dreams that comes with old age. This movie has a lot of W's, and I'm sure the franchise will expand in the future. Can't wait to see the next installment in the franchise. Moving on to number 6 on my list, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. There's something about Del Toro, man. He's always delivering the mysterious, the bizarre, and yet it's so damn interesting. Adapted from The Adventures of Pinocchio by Italian writer Carlo Collodi. But that's where the similarities end. Guillermo del Toro takes a bold approach to the classic story, setting it in a backdrop of Mussolini's fascist Italy. According to del Toro, he tried making it a celebration of disobedience instead of Collodi's chastisement for the character's lack of responsibility. Thematically, you'll see similarities with his previous work, namely Pan's Labyrinth and The Devil's Backbone, both of which are also explorations into, quote, childhood coming up against something that has to do with war and violence. He does so many wonderful things with Pinocchio's journey that made the movie one of the best iterations of the timeless story. Next up, Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery. I really love the first Knives Out movie by Rian Johnson, and I was kind of doubting if he could deliver a second time around. And although Knives Out is still the better one in my opinion, I gotta say I'm pleasantly surprised to say Glass Onion was really fun. It took a different approach in unraveling the narrative and how each piece of the puzzle fits to the next. Rian Johnson said that after telling the story of old money from the first one, he wanted to explore new money this time around, here represented by the tech billionaire Miles Braun, played by Edward Norton. But in any case, Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery is witty and downright fun. I do hope to see more of Detective Benoit Blanc come to the big screen. Moving on, James Cameron did it again with his amazing visual spectacle Avatar: The Way of Water. Say what you will about this movie, the clunky dialogue, and even the multiple James Cameronisms present in the film. And I know the messaging is a little bit outdated, but I think he was able to execute his vision to the T, and you got to respect the man for even having one. This is quintessential James Cameron. You can even say that it's his obsession. He poured his very soul into it, and maybe some of his worst in it as well, but at the end of the day, this expansive world he's building has a sort of grandeur to it. The peak visuals, the way he portrays his family, to the epic set pieces really immerses you into this universe, and it's definitely more than enough to keep people interested. Now on to a movie that from the moment I saw the trailer I knew would be good, but didn't expect would be this good. One of my top movies of 2022. Everything Everywhere All at Once, starring Michelle Yeoh, and I'm sure you would have seen a lot of people talk about this film, and for good reason. This movie breaks your expectations like it would its own reality. This delves deep into the multiverse more than the MCU has so far, and does it in style. I've always been a fan of Michelle Yeoh, and she was always great in her roles, be it an ass-kicking kung fu master to a doting rich mother. Her range is nothing to smirk at, and here she shines, showing off multiple different versions of herself throughout the multiverse, and it's a joy to watch. Ke Huy Quan makes a huge comeback in this movie, and definitely a great addition to the movie, playing as Michelle Yeoh's reality-defying husband. Number 2 on my list is Top Gun Maverick. This is peak cinema in 2022. Yes, the sequel to Top Gun is great. Not only does it overcome all expectations of being yet another nostalgia-driven bait and switch, but it has established itself as one of the great cinematic experiences to date. There's no better way to experience this movie other than inside a movie theater, and people love the spectacle. Top Gun blows the roof, redefines action sequences with its jaw-dropping flying sequences, and we love it. Anyway, on top of that, it's a great action movie. It doesn't oversaturate you with VFX. It's well crafted, and when you hear all the effort that's gone into making this movie, it's freaking insane. But before getting to my actual topic for 2022, here's my honorable mentions that really didn't make the list, but I thought weren't all that bad, and some of these I actually really enjoyed. So starting off, yet another great horror film, Barbarian. The only reason I didn't include this on my top 10 list because I tried to represent one per genre, and I thought X was a tad superior, but Barbarian was right next to it. Zach Cregger's Barbarian was all kinds of great. The dark atmospheric tensions building up from the get-go, the specific ominous shots that set up the anxiety of the moment to the unpredictable narrative. It's chilling and smart at the same time. Georgina Campbell, Bill Skarsgård, and Justin Long's portrayals are on point and clearly represents the film's messaging, but all that stuff aside, it's just an effective thrill ride. Next we got Bullet Train, which is a pretty good stylized action comedy. I do think the plot was way too convoluted and gets lost in its own thing, but still non-stop ride of ridiculous fight scenes and violence. Just turn your brain off and enjoy what you're seeing for a few hours while watching this movie, and you'll have a great time. There were a lot of quirky, fun characters. I especially like the brother dynamic between Aaron Taylor Johnson and Brian Tyree Henry. Brad Pitt's case of mistaken identity character kind of falls flat, but shows he still has the acting chops and star presence to lift a film firmly on his shoulders. So pretty good watch altogether. Black Adam was yet another action-packed, in-your-face kind of movie. The sheer amount of mind-numbing VFX-laden action sequences will keep you on the edge of your seat. Sure, it didn't break any mold of your typical superhero movie, but then again, it's not trying to. Dwayne Johnson's portrayal of the character isn't that great either. Aldous Hodge's Hawkman, and especially Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Fate, on the other hand, stands out and way more interesting than Black Adam himself, and I think Cavill's heavily marketed appearance as Superman helped the movie commercially, but ultimately the movie bombed. But still, in my opinion, it's a pretty decent comic book movie. Next on the list, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Beset by the task of rewriting a finished script for a movie centering on Chadwick Boseman's T'Challa, Ryan Coogler has made a heartwarming tribute in its place, taking us on an emotional rollercoaster ride of a movie. Wakanda Forever caps off Marvel's Phase 4 with a suitable movie. However, while I maintain this is a good movie compared to other titles in the MCU post Avengers Endgame, it feels it could have been better had they recast the role for Black Panther. But again, that's just my opinion. It kind of loomed over the movie for me, kept thinking how good this movie could have been. Next on our list is Prey, a Predator franchise prequel set in the 18th century, directed by Dan Trachtenberg, also directed 10 Cloverfield Lane. I gotta be honest, I was skeptical going in, but once the movie credits were rolling by the end, I'm glad to say I was wrong. It was bloody, action-packed, and great performances from actors, especially Amber Midthunder. Some of the VFX could have used some improvement, especially with the animals, but overall the movie looked good and well executed. They went back to basics, not going too crazy on the premise, just had a Predator land on Earth for the first time, gave him a bit of a visual overhaul as well. To be sure, they dialed down on how technologically advanced previous iterations were, maybe to blend better with the period. Nonetheless, I think they knocked it out of the park with this one and definitely had more people invested in the franchise. Next is Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. I was surprised to find out that a sequel to a spin-off movie of the Shrek franchise turned out to be amazing as it is. It was able to recapture the magic of the first Shrek movies with a personal, emotional plot and introduce both new well-known fairy tale characters and original ones along the way. Wrap that all up in a bundle of fun adventure and you got yourself a pretty great movie. My number one top movie of 2022, Matt Reeves' The Batman. No doubt in my mind, one of the best depictions of the Dark Knight on the big screen. There were great ones out there to be sure, but this movie, in my opinion, has all the makings of a great Batman movie. Michael Giacchino's menacingly dark score for the movie captures the imagery of a dark figure looming in the shadows, with a slow brooding progression before exploding to a symphony of orchestra. Matt Reeves' brutal reimagined gothic crime-ridden Gotham pops out for me, and I was fully immersed in this world filled with interesting characters like Catwoman, Penguin, Falcone, and Gordon. The influence from American New Wave paints Batman in a new light, one that fans have always wanted to see, that of a detective Batman, and I think he was able to pull it off. Cinematography was great, costume design, choreography, all of it just feels like Matt Reeves' vision came together in beautiful fashion. Well, that's it for my list, guys, and again, that's my own personal opinion. That's what resonated with me, and I'm sure you'll have your own list, what you loved and hated of all the movies that came out this year. Disagree with me, agree with me, let me know what your thoughts are down below. 2022 has been great in terms of movies, but I'm already excited for the slate next year. Anyway, enjoy the holidays. Please consider to like and subscribe. It really helped the channel out. Take care out there and see you on the next one.